John Carter stood at his workstation, eyes fixed on the monitor displaying an unusual signal pattern. After 20 years as a Navy SEAL, he'd found peace working at the remote signal detection facility in Antarctica. Until today. "Director, you need to see this," he called out, not taking his eyes off the screen. Dr. Elaine Wright hurried over, her coffee sloshing in her mug. She set it down and leaned in, her breath catching as she processed what she was seeing. "That's not one of ours. And it's not Russian or Chinese either," she whispered. The signal pulsed in regular intervals, clearly artificial and coming from beyond the orbit of Mars. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth had confirmed the same thing. Something was approaching Earth, and it was slowing down. 3 days later, the world watched as a sleek vessel entered Earth orbit. News networks abandoned regular programming. Social media exploded with theories. Religious leaders called for calm. Military forces worldwide went to high alert. The first message came through on all frequencies in perfect English. "People of Earth, we represent the Galactic Council, a federation of 27 civilized worlds. We come in peace to welcome you to the greater community of spacefaring species." When the alien delegation landed on the White House lawn, Susan Miller watched from her position with military intelligence, scanning every movement of the reptilian beings who called themselves Silosians. "They look like walking iguanas in fancy robes," muttered her colleague. Susan didn't laugh. Something about their eyes seemed cold, calculating. Still, the world celebrated as the Silosian ambassador spoke of friendship, trade, and shared knowledge. President Howard shook hands with the alien leader, cameras flashing to capture this historic moment. "This begins a new chapter in human history," he announced to thunderous applause. Later that night, Susan sat in her darkened office, running enhanced audio from the Silosian ship through specialized software. Most of the alien language remained incomprehensible, but their translation devices occasionally switched on and off during private conversations. Her blood ran cold as fragments became clear. Humans classified as violent species, requiring management. Council has approved resource extraction protocols. Military capabilities must be restricted before they. Susan downloaded the audio and drove straight to the Pentagon. General Martinez listened to the recordings twice before picking up his secure phone. "Get me the president. Now." While Earth's leaders were distracted by public celebrations and diplomatic niceties, the Silosians established what they called cultural exchange centers in major cities. John Carter, now recalled to active duty, stood guard at one such facility in New York. "They've got more scanning equipment than cultural artifacts," he reported back to command. Within weeks, the Galactic Council presented Earth with a formal membership treaty. The document spanned thousands of pages in tiny print, with terms for integration that included strict limits on Earth's space presence and requirements to provide resources to Council worlds. When several nations hesitated to sign, the Silosian ambassador spoke kindly but firmly about the unfortunate alternatives to membership. 2 days later, a small moon of Jupiter exploded in a demonstration of mining technology. The treaty was signed the following morning. Susan Miller and her team worked around the clock, decrypting more communications. What they discovered confirmed her worst fears. Earth had been classified as a resource world long before first contact. The Council had no intention of treating humans as equals. As alien monitoring stations appeared in orbit, John Carter received orders to report to a new underground facility in Colorado. There, he found scientists and military personnel from a dozen countries working together in secret. General Martinez stood before the assembled group, his face grim. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are at war. They just don't know it yet." 6 months after first contact, the true nature of the Galactic Council's integration protocols became painfully clear. Earth's nations found themselves bound by treaties they barely understood, signed under thinly veiled threats. William Harris, Secretary General of the United Nations, sat at his desk reviewing the latest resource extraction quotas. The numbers were staggering. The Council demanded increasing shipments of rare earth minerals, water, and biological samples. Earth received minimal technology in return, mostly consumer goods that created dependency rather than advancement. "They're bleeding us dry," he muttered to his aide. "And they've barely begun." In orbit, 7 massive Council monitoring stations now circled the planet. They claimed these were for communication and cultural exchange, but their powerful scanning arrays constantly watched Earth's surface. Any unauthorized spacecraft launch was immediately disabled by precision energy weapons. When Brazil attempted to deploy a new weather satellite without Council approval, it was destroyed seconds after liftoff. The official explanation cited dangerous technological incompatibilities. Lisa Nguyen, senior researcher at the World Health Organization, discovered the first evidence of biological experimentation. Patients across multiple countries reported identical symptoms after visiting Council medical exchange centers. Blood tests revealed microscopic tracking implants that gathered data on human physiology. "They're studying us like lab rats," Lisa told her colleague as they examined the samples behind closed doors. "These implants send continuous biological data somewhere off-planet." When she filed an official complaint with Council representatives, they expressed polite concern and promised an investigation. The next day, her laboratory was shut down for safety violations. 2 days later, her home was raided by Council security drones, searching for stolen medical technology. The military restrictions proved most difficult for many nations to accept. The Council demanded decommissioning of nuclear weapons, aircraft carriers, and advanced fighter jets. They cited regulations against destabilizing military technology for developing species. Meanwhile, Council peacekeeping ships with devastating weapons patrolled Earth's atmosphere freely. Major Ryan Daniels watched with clenched fists as alien technicians disabled the missile defense systems he had spent his career maintaining. Their reptilian faces showed no emotion as they methodically stripped Earth of its defenses. "This is for your protection," the Exolution Overseer explained in his perfect, emotionless English. Developing species often destroy themselves without proper guidance. Ryan nodded respectfully while memorizing everything about the alien technology for his secret reports. In Geneva, William Harris made one final diplomatic attempt. At an emergency Council hearing, he presented evidence of the one-sided nature of the agreements and requested renegotiation. The Council representatives listened politely. The Exolution speaker, Ambassador Zex, smiled with too many teeth. "We understand your concerns, Secretary Harris. However, these agreements were freely signed by your governments. The Council has thousands of years of experience integrating new species. Your discomfort is merely part of the adjustment process." That night, William received a classified file from military intelligence. It contained intercepted communications proving the Council had classified Earth as a resource acquisition target before they ever revealed themselves. The final straw came when the Council announced population redistribution initiatives. Coastal cities would be partially evacuated to create zones for more efficient resource extraction. Millions would be relocated to inland development centers, built to Council specifications. In a secure underground facility beneath Colorado, General Martinez reviewed the growing resistance network. Military personnel, scientists, and civilians from dozens of nations now coordinated through encrypted channels. They had been quietly stockpiling resources and reverse engineering bits of alien technology. "They think we're primitive and obedient," he told the assembled leaders. "It's time to show them how humans respond to change." The resistance grew in the shadows while the Galactic Council tightened its grip on Earth. Beneath the abandoned mines of South Dakota, Eric Rodriguez helped build humanity's secret hope. The former Marine Corps colonel now led the Western coalition of resistance fighters. "Our greatest advantage is that they think we're stupid," Eric told the gathered team of engineers and soldiers. "They've never bothered to encrypt their lower-level communications because they don't believe we can understand their technology." Across the room, Kate Wilson nodded in agreement. The former cybersecurity expert now coordinated the Eastern forces stretching from Europe to Asia. Her team had created a mesh network that piggybacked on the aliens' own communication systems. "We've decrypted another batch of internal memos," Kate announced, projecting the translated text onto the wall. "It confirms what we suspected. Earth was classified as a resource world 18 years before they made contact. They were monitoring us, deciding the best approach to colonization." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Galactic Council had never intended peaceful integration. Earth had been targeted for systematic exploitation from the beginning. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in facilities hidden from the Council's orbital scanners, human scientists worked day and night. They reverse-engineered captured alien technology, focusing on communication systems and weapons. Dr. Alan Foster held up a small device barely larger than a pill. "This is their neural translator. We've modified it to intercept and understand all Council species languages. Any operative with this implant will understand everything they say, even their private conversations." In the background, technicians assembled makeshift weapons that combined Earth materials with alien power sources. They didn't match Council weapons in power, but they had one critical advantage. They didn't register on alien scanners. The Resistance operated in isolated cells across the planet. No single person knew every operation or safe house. If one group was discovered, the others would continue. Patricia Johnson used her position as a human interpreter at the Council's North American headquarters to gather critical intelligence. Her translator implant recorded everything while she smiled and nodded at the alien diplomats. "The Council is planning to accelerate the coastal evacuations," she reported through encrypted channels. "They found larger mineral deposits than expected under San Francisco and Miami. They want those areas cleared within 2 months." Meanwhile, Operation Silent Thunder deployed small teams worldwide to identify Council vulnerabilities. Former Navy SEAL Greg Murphy led a dive team investigating the underwater foundations of the aliens' Pacific processing facility. "Their structural supports aren't designed for Earth's tidal patterns," he reported back. "They built everything to standard specifications without adapting to local conditions. One good storm hitting at the right angle, and the whole facility becomes vulnerable." This pattern repeated everywhere. The Council, overconfident in their technological superiority, failed to adapt their designs to Earth's unique environment. Each oversight was carefully documented for future exploitation. The Resistance also discovered something unexpected about Council biology. The Exolosians and several other species relied heavily on cybernetic implants for communication. Dr. Laura Peterson, working with samples obtained from medical waste, began developing a virus that could disrupt these systems without causing permanent harm. "We don't need to kill them," she explained to Eric. "We just need to blind them temporarily." As months passed, the Council grew increasingly frustrated with Earth's population. Despite intimidation and reeducation programs, humans continued small acts of defiance. Productivity at extraction sites remained below projections. Equipment suffered unexplained malfunctions. In their arrogance, the Council attributed these problems to human inefficiency rather than organized resistance. They increased quotas and punishments, fueling even more resentment. In the Colorado Command Center, General Martinez reviewed the global readiness reports. Supply caches were established, communication networks tested, weapons distributed. "They think we're beaten," he told his officers. "But humans have always fought hardest with our backs against the wall. We're almost ready to show them just how badly they've underestimated Earth." The Council's mistake became clear on a foggy morning in San Francisco. Silesian troops, backed by hovering enforcement drones, arrived to begin the forced relocation of residents from the Bay Area. They expected compliance. What they found was ready resistance. As the alien commander announced evacuation orders through amplified speakers, the first shots came from apartment windows and rooftops. Modified human weapons, built from reverse-engineered alien technology, cut through the Silesians' personal shields. "This isn't possible," the commander hissed into his communicator as his troops scattered for cover. "Their weapons are registered as primitive projectile devices. The Council had catalogued every official military weapon on Earth, but they never accounted for humanity's capacity to adapt and improvise. Admiral Frank Morgan watched the battle unfold from his command center beneath the Marin Headlands. His forces had prepared for months, testing the alien shields against different configurations until they found frequencies that penetrated their defenses. "Move in second wave," he ordered. "Remember, disable their communications first." Teams of resistance fighters emerged from sewer grates and hidden tunnels. They targeted the specific nodes on Solosian battle armor that housed communication equipment. Cut off from coordinated response, the alien troops fell into disarray. Within hours, similar uprisings erupted in coastal cities marked for evacuation worldwide. The Council, assuming humans would surrender when faced with superior technology, had deployed minimal forces to each location. They never anticipated synchronized global resistance. The Exolosian Central Command sent urgent distress signals to their orbiting stations. They requested immediate reinforcements and orbital weapon strikes against human population centers. But the orbital stations remained strangely silent. In space, a different battle had unfolded. Dr. Laura Peterson's virus had been deployed against the Council's communication network through their own update system. The elegant code replicated through their cybernetic implants, causing temporary system failures that left them unable to coordinate large-scale operations. "Station Yama, respond." The ground commander shouted into his communicator, receiving only static in return. "Station Alpha, anyone?" On those stations, confused alien technicians struggled with systems that no longer recognized their commands. Security protocols locked doors and sealed compartments, trapping Council forces in their own facilities. The Council had made a fatal error in their assessment of humans. They classified Earth as a primitive society based on technological benchmarks, ignoring the species' remarkable adaptability and determination. They dismissed human military strategy because it didn't follow their standardized tactical doctrines. In Seoul, resistance fighters led by former Army Captain Steve Jackson used subway tunnels to outflank alien patrols. In Mumbai, dock workers led by Maria Patel disabled the anti-gravity systems on Council transport vehicles by exploiting a maintenance override they'd discovered through patient observation. The Council's rigid military doctrine proved ill-suited for urban combat against an enemy who knew the terrain intimately. Their troops, trained for formation warfare with overwhelming technological advantage, found themselves ambushed in narrow streets and confined spaces where their weapons couldn't be fully deployed. By nightfall, the Council had lost control of 17 major Earth cities. Their forces retreated to fortified positions, awaiting reinforcements that couldn't receive their calls. In the Antarctic Command Center, General Martinez received updates from around the globe. The first phase had succeeded beyond expectations. Human casualties were significant but far lower than projected. The Council made one fundamental mistake, he told his staff. They studied our official military doctrines but ignored our history. They never read about our resistance movements, our guerrilla warfare, our capacity to fight against superior forces when our homes are threatened. On his monitor, satellite imagery showed Council troops falling back from San Francisco. Citizens emerged from hiding places to reclaim their city. American flags appeared on buildings. Similar scenes played out worldwide as humans took back their territory. The Council's High Commander, finally receiving fragmented reports of the disaster, made an emergency transmission to the Galactic capital requesting a punishment fleet. But Earth was far from finished with its revenge. The morning after Earth's initial victories, the real battle began. Humans didn't celebrate long. They knew the Council would respond with overwhelming force. But this time, Earth was ready. Captain Daniel Wright stood on the bridge of the captured Council battlecruiser Inevitable Justice. His crew, a mixture of Navy personnel and civilian engineers, worked frantically to master the alien controls. They had trained on simulators built from stolen data, but the real thing was far more complex. "Engine systems online," reported his second-in-command. "Weapons at 60% capacity. It's not pretty, but she'll fly." Daniel nodded grimly. "Hide us behind the moon. They won't expect us to have operational control of their own ship." The battlecruiser had been captured during a daring raid on a Council maintenance facility in lunar orbit. While the aliens focused on the ground rebellion, Michelle Clark's Special Forces team had launched from a hidden base in the Atacama Desert, using a transport disguised as mining equipment. Now this stolen vessel would become the centerpiece of Earth's defense. In orbit, the 7 Council monitoring stations remained partially disabled by Dr. Peterson's virus. Resistance teams, using spacesuits cobbled together from Council technology, conducted boarding operations to secure these platforms. Each station's weapon systems were gradually turning toward deep space, awaiting the arrival of Council reinforcements. The Punishment Fleet arrived 3 days later, 15 warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel beyond Mars orbit. Their commander, Supreme Admiral Zex Kalor, sent a simple message to Earth. "Your rebellion ends now. Surrender or face planetary bombardment." General Martinez broadcast Earth's response. A single word: no. The Council fleet accelerated toward Earth, weapons charging. They expected token resistance followed by surrender. They couldn't imagine humans controlling Council technology effectively. They were wrong again. As the fleet approached lunar orbit, Daniel Wright gave the order. The captured battlecruiser emerged from hiding, firing directly at the flagship's propulsion systems. Simultaneously, all 7 monitoring stations opened fire on the approaching fleet, their weapons precisely targeting communication arrays and shield generators. "Impossible," roared Admiral Zex Kalor as alerts blared across his bridge. "Those stations are under our control." The Council fleet scattered, trying to regroup under the unexpected assault. They still outnumbered Earth's forces, but the element of surprise had thrown them into disarray. That's when the second phase began. From Earth's surface, hundreds of missiles launched simultaneously. These weren't nuclear weapons or conventional explosives. They were delivery vehicles for more of Dr. Peterson's virus, specifically engineered to penetrate Council ships' air filtration systems. Aboard the Council vessels, cybernetic systems began failing. Navigation computers showed false readings. Weapon targeting systems identified friendly ships as enemies. The Council fleet had trained to fight as a coordinated unit. They had no protocols for individual ship combat when communications failed. Each captain made decisions in isolation, leading to chaos. Meanwhile, human forces understood exactly how to use the solar system's terrain to their advantage. Small, agile craft hidden among the asteroid belt launched hit-and-run attacks. Decoy transmitters planted on various moons confused the alien sensors. Michelle Clark's team, having infiltrated the Council's regional headquarters on Phobos, Mars' largest moon, executed the most crucial mission. They accessed the central database and transmitted its contents to Earth. Complete technical specifications for all Council weapons, ships, and defenses. By the battle's 3rd day, 9 Council ships had been disabled or destroyed. The remaining vessels gathered in defensive formation, no longer attacking but simply trying to survive. Admiral Zex Kalor, his flagship crippled and drifting, received an unexpected transmission. It wasn't directed at him, but at every species in Council space. Earth had hijacked the Council's own communication network to broadcast evidence of the Council's exploitation, not just of humans, but of dozens of other resource worlds. The carefully crafted message included translated Council documents detailing centuries of systematic oppression disguised as integration. As horrified reactions poured in from across the galaxy, the Admiral realized the humans hadn't just defeated his fleet. They had shattered the Council's legitimacy forever. The Galactic Council splintered within days of Earth's broadcast. Species that had suffered similar integration recognized the truth in humanity's evidence. Others, particularly the elder races who benefited most from resource exploitation, demanded immediate military action to crush the human rebellion. Admiral Zex Kalor received conflicting orders from different Council factions. His damaged fleet held position in Mars orbit, awaiting clear direction that never came. "The humans have turned our own methods against us," he hissed to his officers. "They've weaponized information." On the Andorian homeworld, massive protests erupted as citizens learned how the Council had classified them as provisional members for centuries, denying them full rights while extracting their resources. The Tellarites, another subjugated species, formally withdrew from the Council and dispatched diplomatic vessels to Earth. "We recognize in humans the same spirit that has kept us fighting for equal treatment," the Tellarite ambassador announced. "We stand with Earth." General Richard Bennett watched these developments from the newly established Earth Defense Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Formerly a logistics colonel, he now coordinated humanity's military response to whatever came next. "The Council is fracturing, but that makes them more dangerous, not less," he warned his officers. "Cornered animals fight hardest." His prediction proved correct. The hardline Council factions, led by the Xolosians and their allies, launched a desperate final assault on Earth. They gathered nearly 30% of the Council's total military strength, over 60 warships, and advanced toward the Sol system. "This is no longer about resource acquisition," the Xolosian High Commander told his forces. "This is about making an example. No species can be allowed to challenge Council authority and survive." Earth had 7 days to prepare. Every captured piece of alien technology was deployed. Every resistance fighter took position. Humanity stood united as never before, former enemies now fighting side by side. The Council fleet arrived with overwhelming force, expecting to find Earth defended by a handful of captured vessels and monitoring stations. Instead, they faced humanity's secret weapon, the defensive grid. For months, while appearing to comply with Council restrictions, humans had been launching what looked like space debris. In reality, each piece contained miniaturized weapon systems designed by Earth engineers based on reverse-engineered alien technology. Now these thousands of small platforms activated simultaneously, creating a web of defensive fire around the planet. "Impossible," muttered the Xolosian commander as his sensors detected the grid powering up. "Their technological level cannot support this." The Council fleet pushed forward nonetheless, their superior numbers and firepower gradually overwhelming sections of the grid. They suffered heavy losses but continued their advance. Earth's captured battlecruisers engaged the enemy, buying time but slowly being destroyed one by one. Captain Daniel Wright's vessel was among the last standing. "We need to hold them another 30 minutes, he told his crew as warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Every minute we give Earth improves our chances." On the planet below, Richard Bennett initiated the final phase of Earth's defense. Massive energy collectors, hidden on the far side of the moon, channeled power to a weapon the Resistance had built from Council technology, a gravity manipulator that could disrupt the space-time field around enemy vessels. "We get one shot at this," he said, watching the battle unfold on the main screen. "Wait for maximum concentration of enemy ships." The Council fleet, believing victory was within reach, grouped together for a final push toward Earth. That's when Bennett gave the order. The gravity weapon fired, creating a localized distortion that didn't destroy the Council ships, but threw them into disarray, disrupting their formation and damaging their navigation systems. Simultaneously, all of Earth's remaining defenses concentrated fire on the flagship. The massive vessel exploded in a blinding flash, sending shockwaves through the enemy fleet. Without central command, the remaining Council ships fell into confusion. One by one, they began to retreat. On Earth, in orbit, and across the monitoring stations, humans watched in stunned silence as the enemy fleet scattered. Then the cheering began. Humanity had won the battle that would become known throughout the galaxy as Humanity's Stand. The galaxy changed forever in the months following Humanity's Stand. The old Galactic Council collapsed completely as more species rejected its authority. In its place, a new organization began to form, one built on principles that humans had long valued, but the galaxy had forgotten. Olivia Martinez stood before the assembled representatives of 24 spacefaring civilizations. Once a mid-level diplomat of the United Nations, she now served as Earth's primary ambassador to the stars. The Grand Chamber, built on a neutral space station orbiting a distant star, hummed with translation devices as species of all forms waited for her to speak. The Sovereign Species Alliance does not seek to replace one empire with another, Olivia declared, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Each member world maintains its independence. We unite for mutual defense, fair trade, and the advancement of all. The Andorian representative rose in support, followed by the Tellarites. Soon, most of the chamber stood in agreement. Only the Exolosians and their closest allies remained seated, their scaled faces unreadable. Meanwhile, on a distant Council Fortress world, justice took another form. Brian Nelson, formerly a human rights attorney, now served as Earth's representative to the Interspecies Tribunal. Before him stood the former council leaders who had authorized Earth's exploitation. "You are charged with crimes against sentient beings," Brian announced as cameras transmitted the proceedings throughout the galaxy. "The evidence shows a pattern of systematic oppression spanning centuries and affecting dozens of worlds." The Exolosian High Commander, once among the most powerful beings in the galaxy, stood in silence as the charges were read. The tribunal would ensure accountability while avoiding mere revenge. Another human principle, now reshaping galactic society. Back on Earth, the recovery continued. Council extraction facilities were dismantled or repurposed. Cities damaged in the fighting were rebuilt with a blend of human determination and alien technology freely shared by new allies. Amy Garcia supervised the conversion of a former council mining complex outside Chicago into a medical research center. "They took from us," she told reporters. "Now we're building something better in its place." The council remnants attempted one final desperate action. Using their remaining influence, they hired mercenaries to assassinate key human leaders. The plot failed when the Andorians, having faced similar tactics during their own subjugation, uncovered the plan and warned Earth in time. This last betrayal ended any sympathy for the old regime. The final council holdouts found themselves isolated, their trading partners gone, their military allies switching sides. 6 months after humanity's stand, Admiral Ryan Smith commanded the joint fleet that accepted the formal surrender of the last Council military forces. The ceremony, held aboard Earth's flagship Defiance, was brief and solemn. "Your weapons will be secured, your military disbanded," Ryan informed the defeated commander. "But your people will be treated with the dignity that you deny to others." As news of the surrender spread, celebrations erupted across dozens of worlds. Species that had lived under council domination for generations finally tasted true freedom. Many sent representatives to Earth, eager to learn from the planet that had accomplished the impossible. In Earth's new space academy, instructors from 7 species trained the next generation of explorers. Jack Wilson, teaching a class on interspecies diplomacy, summarized humanity's new philosophy. "We don't seek an empire. We seek a community. The stars belong to all of us." The former council races gradually found their place in this new order. Most ordinary citizens had never known the truth about their government's actions. They integrated into the alliance, contributing their knowledge and culture to the growing interstellar community. Earth itself transformed. Once seen as a primitive backwater, it became known as the planet that broke the chains, a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Human adaptability, creativity, and determination became legendary across the galaxy. Olivia Martinez, watching Earth rise over the horizon of humanity's first extraterrestrial colony, reflected on how far they had come. From nearly becoming slaves to creating a new interstellar order in less than 2 years. "They thought we would submit," she said to her aide. "They never understood that humans value freedom above all, and will always fight for it, no matter the odds." Throughout the galaxy, that lesson would never be forgotten.